This message is intended as a reminder that we are not licensed professionals, not psychiatrists or psychologists. If you have a serious problem, please seek professional help. The National Suicide Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255.
Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Hearing all these letters read aloud by damsels not in distress, host came to impress. Bitch, check your DMs. This is hot off the press.
Hey there.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Chloe?
I am good.
Jacket in there. You cold?
No, I throw this on when I have not started my day. You know what? I have something to say up top. Male people, people of the male species at work, stop asking women to get on Zoom. It's not the same. It's not the same as when you get on Zoom, okay? I don't have makeup on. Society told me I needed to have makeup on today, and I'm not ready. I'm not camera ready.
No, I know.
That's a PSA quickly for the men's.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I'm always off camera all the time.
How have you been? What have you been up to this week?
Oh, I just drink my hip water. I eat my fiber. I do all the same things. No, but recently I have been partaking in the outdoor workout classes in the Philadelphia area because I realized I only have a couple months before it gets cold here, and that I can partake in the classes. So anyway, I did the Soul Cycle outdoor class, and I felt very safe. Actually, I was surprised. They have a good setup. The bikes are very far apart. I think the East Coast is definitely going to struggle when it gets cold here because we cannot do the same sort of outdoor things that you can do in LA. But no, it's fun because they're like what do you call it? A silent disco. So you wear headphones, I guess, because they can't make too much noise, like in the space, because it's outdoor. But so everybody wears their headphones. You're 6 feet apart on the bikes. Everybody wears a mask the entire class. And I really enjoyed it because like workout classes were some of the like probably the main thing that I really missed before like COVID happened. So, the Peloton, I love it, but it doesn't cut it all the time. So I just like the energy about working around other people. So yeah, that's about it.
So I've been doing some intermittent fasting, which I've only done it for 2 weeks. So verdict's out on that. I haven't been exercising. I've been walking, but I did get that bike that I was talking about. So I have a bike here. Anyway, long story short, I don't feel like I'm getting endorphins from exercising, but rather from the memes of Shia LaBeouf at that table.
Yeah. Those were funny.
That's been a big source of joy for me.
Also, is it bad to be walking outside in LA right now because of the air quality? Or is that just like a news thing?
Probably, yeah. You're not really supposed to be doing anything in LA besides staying inside and minding your business, which I'm trying to do.
How's that going for you?
It's fine.
Not fine. That is not fine.
I feel like I don't know. It's kind of weird because I've had a few relationships in my life, but I've been, I would say, primarily single and primarily okay with that. But lately I've just been feeling kind of weird and lonely. And I touched on this a bit the last time, but I had been seeing this guy for a couple dates. And at the end of the day, it just kind of turns out there just wasn't really a big spark between us, which was fine. But I think it's kind of weird. There's this phenomenon when that happens to me where it leaves me feeling like extra shitty. And like maybe extra lonely and maybe extra wanting to run to people that I shouldn't be running to. More so than it's just like when I'm okay being single for like, a longer stint. You know what I mean? I think it just kind of like throws you off. So anyway, I've just been battling the lonelies over here on my own.
And is your roommate around or not really?
No.
Okay.
She's not a big source of She pays the rent, okay? We're not best friends.
No,
Nothing wrong with her.
wonder
It's just
if
we're very
you,
different.
like, friends or whatever the deal is.
No, we met on Craigslist.
Hmm.
And I actually like having my own apartment. I don't think the not having my apartment thing is the thing. I think it's kind of like you go from like kind of having someone around that gives a shit about your life to not.
Yeah.
Not that other people don't give a shit about my life, just not on a romantic level, I guess.
Because before you moved to LA, that was like when you were living with your boyfriend.
We weren't living together, but I had a pretty serious boyfriend when I moved here, yeah.
You've lived with a boyfriend before or no?
I have, yeah.
How'd that go for you?
Well, I'm single, so.
That's true. No, I've never lived with anyone, but our letter writer today, which we'll get into eventually, has.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was kind of a unique situation in that I lived with him, but we also lived with our friend Sarah at the time. So quite frankly, like I think as our relationship started to not shape up to be so good, I kind of had like Sarah to fall back on because we were really good friends and we would like watch The Bachelor together and stuff. So it was almost like a little bit of a crutch for my failing relationship to have her there.
Thank you, Sarah.
Shout out to Sarah. But speaking of someone who is a good friend of yours.
Yes, today we have my buddy on, so let's go chat with her. So we are here today with Yomary Cruz, who is an actress, host, best known as Sheila the Tank, and voiceover artist, and also my very good friend. So we are so happy to have you here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is really fun.
Yes, absolutely. Your background looks awesome and amazing. I need to enhance mine. Mine is so boring compared to yours.
You're so funny. No, this is my little VO studio.
I was just saying that Yomary and I have been working on a project together, sort of about like Latinx discrimination in the entertainment industry. And it was funny because I went over to her house. This was like way before COVID. And we were working on like filming a promo thing. And her setup was just like insane to me. I feel like I just have like my rinky dink ring light that I just like carry around with me everywhere. And Yomary is like the most prepared in terms of her self-taping setup.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm a little insane with the tech, I guess, you know.
You're good with it.
Most recently I just added like some what do you call those? The active cameras. So yeah, so now I've got like a 360 degree camera. So that's pretty cool. It's really fun. Like it's weird shooting with it because it doesn't matter where you point it. It's recording the whole thing, like everything. And then you choose what you want in editing.
Well, something funny about Yomary is that we both have Brians. And Yomary like prepped her Brian into the industry. He wasn't like an industry person beforehand, but she's like trained him on everything industry. So now he does his own hosting because they're both really into cars. So he's like prepared to do his own like car hosting. Like I thought I had, a stage boyfriend that we've talked about before, but like Yomary took it to the next level. Can you talk about that?
Well, he's awesome. He really took to it. He's actually the one that was like, one day we were just on vacation and we were hiking and he was like, so when you're at work, what do you do? Like, what would you say right now if you were hosting a show? And I was like, well, I don't know. And then I just like started acting like I was hosting a show and he started videotaping it, like with his camera. And he was like, oh, we should do this. This is fun, So he got kind of into it and he's learned how to do everything, like from editing to shooting to just, he can do it all.
He was like a natural, huh?
Absolutely. And what's interesting is that he never, ever thought of being on camera before. But one day we were killing time. We walked into a car museum and he literally started rattling off facts about every single motorcycle and car that was in the museum. He had a story, a factoid, something about literally every single thing in there. And I was like, Brian, do you know how useful that would be on live TV? You know, teleprompter goes down, you're the guy who saves the day. And he's like, really? And I was like, yeah, you could totally do this. So yeah. So now he's you know, doing his own car hosting, and we have fun doing that too.
Aw, that's great. I'm always jealous of people who like didn't want it initially and just like fall into it, because I'm like, I want it so bad, but whenever they don't, they're like always so much better, you know?
I don't know. I think it's interesting that you say that, because I feel like those of us that have been working towards it have all these preconceived ideas about how you're supposed to do things. And honestly, I felt like I did better when I had no idea what we were supposed to do. So, for example, when I didn't know that you were supposed to have an agent or wait for an audition or anything like that, my first job that I ever got was because I literally walked into a TV station without an appointment. I didn't know the news director's name. I didn't know anybody there. I didn't know if they were looking or not. I walked in and I said, I want to be a reporter, to the receptionist. And the receptionist said to me, oh my gosh, we're looking for somebody. And within 2 minutes, I was talking to the news director. And they had set me up immediately to go and do like a shoot day the next day. The next day I had an offer. And like, now that I know you're not supposed to do that, I would never dare. But when I was doing the crazy things that you're not supposed to do, I was working like crazy. So it's an interesting thing. I think there is a certain amount of, I don't know if it's luck or naivete that sort of propels you forward.
And can you talk a little bit about your background and like what made you interested in the industry? Because I know you also did stuff with soap operas too.
Yep. Basically, I just watched TV and I thought it was so much fun. And it was one of the few things that I could see people doing, you know, that looked really fun to me. And honestly, I didn't know I wanted to be an actor or anything specific. I just knew I wanted to be in the entertainment business. And I started out actually singing. So I was a singer as a kid. I wrote songs. I submitted them to contests and, you know, did things like that. And I sang at Madison Square Garden when I was 12. And I was just, you know, I was a singer, I thought. And that's it. Pretty quickly, I figured out that my parents didn't want me to be in the entertainment business. When I was offered a recording contract and they were like, whoa, my daughter is not going to be a singer. So I just started doing other things. It seemed like doing news was more acceptable, a more acceptable path for my parents. So I thought, oh, okay, I'll be a news anchor or something, you know, not realizing how hard it is to do that as well. So I went to school for journalism. And while I was in school, I took an acting class. And it was so much fun. I was like, this is great. I'm still going to do the journalism, but this is really fun. So then, you know, I went and got that job, and I did some news and I got some experience. And I also was going to school at the same time that I was doing this news job. So it was a very psychotic time because I would go into work and I had to be objective and keep my emotions out of it. And then I'd go to class at night, acting class, and it would be like, you need to be open and available, ready to be done to. So it's just like the craziest thing to do, the two things at the same time. But it was interesting, and I've had the opportunity to work in both mediums, and that's been great too. There was a time that I was working on a soap opera, and at the same time, I was the substitute weather anchor. both fun jobs. I had never cared which one I was going to. It was like, oh, I get to work today, you know? So I never really cared which of the things I was doing. I just loved working.
Yeah. I have a little bit of broadcast journalism roots because my background's in PR, but I worked at my school's radio station.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of the girls there were working for like the local news station and just seeing how it was like, a 4 a.m. car crash they're having to go to and kind of like throw a microphone in someone's face, that was just involved in this. And yeah, it's not as glamorous as, some people make it out to be, for sure.
Definitely not. I didn't do hard news very long.
Mm-hmm.
I decided that was not for me. So I got more into reporting things like racing and cars and just more fun stuff. And now I do entertainment, and I'll do anything that's fun. Basically, if I can laugh while I'm doing it, that's good. That's a good criteria for me.
For sure.
You mentioned that your parents didn't want you to take the recording contract, and I was curious why you thought they had those hesitations and how that affected you pursuing a career in the industry.
Well, I think to my parents, the entertainment industry was just sort of like, you would think I had said to them, hey, I want to be a prostitute, It was about on par.
Right.
So if that gives you an idea of what they thought the entertainment business was, yeah, that's pretty much it. So that was their feelings about it. Still, those are their feelings about the entertainment business. And it really did keep me from pursuing it. I just went straight into something else, which was journalism. And I found that I could have fun doing that too. So that was great. But it kept me from pursuing acting and singing and all of that.
Mm-hmm. And you had a point where you took a break from the industry and then you decided to jump back into it, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, obviously I took a break from singing right at the beginning. And then I went into acting, and I got an anchoring job. So I took that. And this is after I was already doing the voiceover for Sheila the Tank. So while I was the voice of Sheila and Phyllis, I was also working as a news anchor. And I really didn't have fun at that job. There was just something about it that wasn't really fabulous,
I remember you telling me that you had an influence from somebody in your personal life to jump back into the industry after you thought that job wasn't quite as fabulous.
Yeah, actually, while I was in that job, I met somebody who became my boyfriend, and he was just a really great guy. We were really close, and he helped me through the disappointment of the job that I wasn't so thrilled with. And he was really, really important to me. And when we decided that I was going to move back to LA, we were still totally in love and not really prepared for the separation. And I moved back, but we would always talk on the phone. And then through about a year later, he died, and I never got to see him again, which was really crushing. But then I remembered that the whole reason I was in LA, even though it was such a huge sacrifice for us to give up the relationship, was because he really wanted me to pursue my dream. And I thought, if I don't pursue it, then that sacrifice was in vain. There's really no point in us having broken up if it wasn't for me to follow my dreams. So that's kind of what gave me the impetus to get back into the business.
That's such a powerful inspiration. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's amazing.
Yeah, it just sort of gave me a reason to continue.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And obviously it was worth it because you are now a judge for the Emmys.
Well, that's fun.
We'd love to talk about that because Lauren said you were coming on, and I was like, wait, the Emmys are on Sunday. Like, does she have time? But I'm guessing the timeline, if you want to like talk us through like what that's like, because that was so amazing to watch. And then, yeah, seeing Euphoria sweep it was, that was fun.
Yeah, it was so awkward for me not to be there because I've been there the last 2 years in person. And that was so much fun. If you ever get the chance to go to any of the awards show, I mean, I would totally jump at it. It's so much fun. And you get to see everything, all the excitement up close. And there is sort of a magnetic feel to it. So I love it and it's thrilling. So I am planning to go back as soon as things get normal, if that happens anytime soon. But it's a whole process, like the whole season. You're watching all of these shows and they have screenings for you with the actors and the producers and all of that. So it's really, for me, it's become sort of a way of life. I know that at night I'm going to be going to some kind of screening and I'm going to see someone fabulous talking about their craft and their show and how much they love it and all of that. So it's really fun. And it's one of the things that I have missed the most during this pandemic is going to these events.
Besides me.
What was that?
Besides me. What's the other
Well,
thing?
Lauren, it goes without saying. You are like the most missed thing.
Yeah.
But thankfully, we've done Zoom meetings.
Yeah, it's true.
So I get to see you over the screen. But yeah, it's really fun, and I've really missed the whole experience of the whole season, the whole Emmy season. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that. But the process is you watch all of these screenings and you hear everybody talk about how they got to their characters and all of that fun stuff. And then at some point it's voting time while people submit. And it goes through a little bit of a process where judges look at the entries and they sort of, separate and vote on whether they think it meets the criteria that they give you. So we have like a certain criteria. If it meets it, we vote for it to move on to the next level. And after that, then it goes to the whole membership and everybody votes on it. And, then you see what you guys see on TV. So there's a lot of planning for that as well, but it's fun.
Did your picks win?
Some of them did, yeah.
Well, I was like, I don't know if she's allowed to say.
Yeah, what places were you
I don't think I'm supposed to say, but yeah.
You'll tell me later. Okay, fine.
Okay. It's funny.
Lauren's really leveraging your friendship here for some insight.
I know. She's like, give me the scoop.
Yeah,
give me the scoop.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
So I was talking to my neighbor yesterday, and one of her friends is a producer on The Bachelor, and they must have to sign so many NDAs because she said she was just not getting any tea from her at all on this new season.
He was on The Bachelor?
She's a producer on it.
Oh, she's a producer on it.
Yeah. I would imagine that they can't say anything.
No.
Because anything would give it away,
Yeah, I think Chris Harrison makes them do like a blood oath or something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
Yes. They're pretty secretive on those shows. You can't give it away because if you do, then what else is there,
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Talk about getting into a more serious relationship, because I know you used to have boyfriends and then recently you settled down more seriously with somebody. I think they moved in. because our letter writer also is struggling with the move-in process. So if you could tell us a little bit about like jumping into a more serious relationship and living together, I think we'd be interested.
Well, I was the queen of, well, I was not a great dater. Let's just put it that way. I I had a knack for finding the craziest person in the room.
Didn't you say that you used to date all Lithuanian men?
For a while, yes.
I'm
Yes.
applying for Lithuanian citizenship. I thought I remembered to tell you that today.
That's hilarious. No, it was so funny because there was like a string of guys, one right after the other, that were all Lithuanian. And there was this one guy who goes, there were three brothers, and he goes, I bet you can't guess what we are. And I was like, I bet you I can. And he was like, never guess. So I go, you're Lithuanian. He goes, no way. How did you know? How did you know? Like, nobody even knows what Lithuanian is. How did you know? And I was like, I have my ways.
Yeah, I admittedly don't know too much about that culture.
For me, she was like, you're like Italian, like maybe you're German. I was like, Lithuanian. I was the one person, she can't pick it up on women.
Apparently not. That's so funny. But yeah, I would always pick, you know, the most difficult guy, I guess. And I think, like many women, I think I was attracted to the drama in relationships. And I kind of had to hit rock bottom before I decided to change things up. And so what rock bottom was for me was there was 1 week where I had three different guys who were all, you know, supposedly trying to date me. And all three of them lied to me in the same week. And I always think it's funny because
never seen that one.
Yeah, wow, we've never heard of that one before.
Well, it was funny to me because I always know when they're lying. And it was like, oh my goodness. And I got so frustrated with it that I said, no, you know what? They say that if, you know, people do things, treat you a certain way, it's because you're letting it happen. And I thought about that. And I said, well, you know, the truth is, if I don't give them another chance, they can't lie to me again. So I cut everybody off and I said, I am going to go for something different. I'm going to date someone different. And I did. That's when I started dating the guy that I'm with now. And he treats me great. And he's willing to learn the whole business just to be a part of it with me. And it's a whole different thing. And I think it's the way we're raised as women. And I don't think I'm raised quite like you guys because I came from a Dominican background. But part of it is like, I can't live without you and, you know, that kind of stuff. So I think it was sort of like drilled in that suffering is part of loving. And if you don't suffer, you don't really love somebody. And I think I felt like, you know, I'd meet a guy who treated me great or something, and I'd be like, a little boring. It's a little boring. I don't feel anything. Yeah.
I feel like you're speaking right to my soul right now.
Not feeling anything, you know. I'm not miserable, you know. And meanwhile, when I had someone who was really difficult and I had to spend my every waking hour trying to understand them and figure them out and figure out what's going on with them and how can I help him. And, you know, those were the guys that I was like madly, passionately in love with. And I realized that it was kind of an attraction to the drama, you know. I think that's what it is. I think it's like, ooh, this is exciting. Ooh, that feels like something. Ooh, that feels interesting. It's a lot of drama, you know. So now I'm saving the drama for the screen.
That's very good. Yeah,
So
no,
it's good.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard dating out here. And I had just, we were actually just talking about this from previous episode. I had just gone on like 4 dates with this guy. And I was really trying to make it work because he was really invested in like my personal projects. Like you said, he definitely was not a douchebag, was very invested in me. But at the end of the day, I just felt like there wasn't that spark.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it kind of like, there's kind of this guilt and shame that goes along with like women that I don't think men actually have, where it's like, I was kind of like beating myself up for like not being able to get there with him. Whereas like guys can so easily be like, I just wasn't into her, but like, I don't know, like I was kind of trying to like force a connection that wasn't there. But like, I totally hear you on dating the douchebags. I'm letting someone that ghosted me back into my life this week, and I shouldn't. Okay, I'm not going to do it now. You've spoken to me. You've gotten to me. We're going to just cut him off.
If you're going to let somebody back in, he better have some serious reason for coming back.
Period. He better be ready to step up, and this guy's not. I can already tell.
Yeah. I remember when I first started dating my current boyfriend, he, one of the old guys, the previous people that I dated came back and told me how he had changed so much, and
They
a
can
lot
sense
of
it.
things
They
like
sense that
that.
you're moving on.
Yeah, and it was like, no, we've tried this already.
Yeah.
No, not
Yep.
going there.
That's on Dating Smarter, something I need to learn.
No, you know what? It takes something. It takes
Mm-hmm.
like a real change in us, I think,
Mm-hmm.
to decide that we're not going to do the same thing over and over again, that we're going to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know what that is for you, Chloe.
We'll see. Every day I'm waiting for something. And God's like, I've sent you a million signs. And I'm like, no, don't, get away.
That's funny.
No, I'm just curious about, because you mentioned that our upbringing was a bit different than your upbringing because you're Dominican. And I'm curious about how being Dominican has impacted both your dating life and also your career in the entertainment industry.
Wow, those are some big questions. Dating wise, dating does not exist in my family. There is no dating. I remember wanting to go out on a date, and my father was like, I don't remember exactly what his questions were, but basically he wanted an engagement ring for me to go to the movies. So there was no dating, and I didn't do much of that really until later, just because it was not acceptable. It's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to find the love of your life and get married immediately, So the first time somebody kissed me and I was 12, I thought, oh, I have to marry this kid. This he wasn't a kid. He was actually an adult. I don't know why he was kissing a 12-year-old, but that's a story for another day. So, yeah. So, it was a different perspective. There was no going to the movies with the guy or there was none of that. So my whole perspective was probably a little bit different, because my mentality was always, is this somebody that I would marry? So there's no dating for the sake of dating. There's just dating for the sake of finding someone to marry. So that was really different for me. And then I, at some point, tried to date the way other people date, and it was, I didn't know how to do that. So it was confusing to me. And I really did not have a good time dating. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't have fun with it the way some of my friends do. I just didn't really feel like it was all that much fun. So it wasn't hard for me to make the transition into a more serious relationship, because I didn't really like dating. And then as far as my career, my parents were happy with their daughter being like a news person. So that wasn't hard for them to jump on board with. And as long as I was doing news, they were happy. But everything else, they really rather I would just give that up, you know? So that's their perspective. And it's been hard to sort of go against them in that sense because, you know, everybody wants to make their parents happy on some level. And we do. I mean, I grew up to want to please them and make them happy. So it's hard because I'm basically doing something that they don't believe in, they don't agree with, and frankly don't like.
Yeah. No,
So
and
yeah, so that's
we
hard.
talked about before is that I would feel like I would be disappointing my parents if I didn't pursue a career in acting. Um, because like they really care about me doing that. My mom listens to this podcast. No, mom, I don't feel like I'm disappointing you. I'm very happy. Don't worry about it. Everything is fine. She's going to say, on the last episode, I talked about how I was falling a lot. And she's like, Lauren, you're falling. Why are you falling? Like, do you need to see a doctor? Like, should I call someone? It's like, again, mom, I am fine. I was on a hike. It was a dusty path. Anyway, no, moving on. But it's just so interesting, I think, how our relationships with parents change so much. Just like, you know, you could be in the same school system, you could be growing up in the same area, but your relationship with your parents impacts the way your life is so much.
Yes, I would agree with that. And, you know, my parents are super caring. So, like, if I fell, they would be the same way. They would be like, what's going on? What's, you know, what's going on? Do you need to see someone? It would be a very similar response. But as far as the career, I'm so jealous. Oh my gosh. I so wish my parents would be like, oh, I want you to, you know, follow your dream and do what you want to do and do what makes you happy. That would be
It
so
comes with a new host of
amazing.
problems, let me tell you. My mom has been emailing me with a Melania Trump dress because she wants me to call SNL and tell them that I should play Melania Trump. So let me tell you, I agree that in some ways I'm very lucky, and in other ways it is a whole new
Well,
set
you know
of
what?
challenges.
That's really funny, Lorna. You would make a good Melania. But that's see, you should call them up.
Like you just talking about like growing up, it kind of adds this extra layer of shame that doesn't really need to be there. And I feel that way, like just unlearning regular societal things that I've been taught that, you know, come to find out are not accurate. And yeah, it's just, I'm sure that was like super hard for you growing up and dating and trying to get into the industry to like feel like you're doing something wrong, even though you aren't. That's just such a terrible way to be feeling.
Yeah, it just does add an extra layer of difficulty because you're kind of fighting yourself. You're fighting your parents in a way. My family has no idea what I'm doing or why, or, you know, it just seems bizarre. And it does add just an extra layer of stuff to deal with.
Yeah, because it's already hard enough, this industry in itself. And it's like, you're already battling that and you got to add that on top of it. Like,
Yeah.
I can imagine, but you're a strong lady.
You know, you try.
Yeah, for sure.
You do
And
your best.
speaking of strong ladies and strong relationships, our letter writer today, too, happens to be a strong lady and a strong relationship. So, our letter writer asks, Dear damsels, I've been dating someone for about 3 years now, and they're ready to take the relationship to the next level. He started moving things into my apartment, having packages delivered here, and leaving ingredients for meals here. He's a bit older than me, and I'm not sure I'm ready to give up my single life yet. I definitely love him. I just don't feel ready to take the next steps yet. Does this mean he's not the one? If I tell him I'm not ready, will he break up with me? Help. Sincerely, Miss Independent.
Interesting.
Yeah. Interesting.
I think
it's the guy too. I feel like, well, I got reminded of that Sex and the City episode where Carrie gets like so excited that like Big gives her an extra toothbrush head, like because she's been staying over there so much. So I feel like that's another societal thing is like, I feel like girls kind of always push this. So it's interesting to hear that it's from the guy.
No, I think it's interesting because my feeling on it is if she was really, really into it, she probably wouldn't be going, ooh, I don't think I'm ready for this. And I think you have to follow your instincts because sometimes our brains pick up on things that we're not consciously aware of. And there's a reason why you're having that reaction. And I just I'm not saying that he's not going to break up with you or that he's going to take it well or that he's not going to be upset. But I think you have to be true to yourself and at least say how you feel. Yeah. And then take it from there because I don't think you should go against your own instinct.
I'd like to know the ingredients that he's leaving at the apartment. I mean, are we talking like cinnamon for some pancakes or like, is it like, what are the ingredients? Because I think a lot depends on like, what's the food that he's bringing to the table? And then we can like, revisit and decipher, is it worth it or not?
The packages thing was kind of weird. So, like, you don't have anywhere to get your packages delivered because they're not moved in yet, right?
That's a little odd.
Yeah.
That's a little odd. The packages is a little odd. What's in those packages? Exactly. And why is he having them sent there?
Yeah. And if they aren't gifts for her, why are they being delivered there?
Right. It's a little odd. The packages is a little odd.
But no, I like that advice you gave. And it's not, I don't think, unless she's ready for a definite breakup, it sounds like she is not. I think just the conversation of slowing it down is the first step. Like, let's just slow it down here, see if that kind of changes everything. Because, I mean, unfortunate as it is, when someone is so super available, and like so ready to do something that you're not so sure about yet, it's a little bit unattractive, unfortunately,
Yeah.
No, it's funny you bring that up because people say that, like Brian says this to me all the time, that it's like most of his friends are in relationships with women who are pressuring them to move in or get engaged or whatever. And I'm kind of the anomaly because I put no pressure. I don't care, So I always have been like the outlier. So I relate pretty heavily to the letter writer because I would feel similarly. But for me, it wouldn't be as much about the guy, at least in my situation, more just that like I don't feel ready to take that step in my life, And I feel like that's an important distinction. Like, what about her single life is still intriguing her? Like, is it that she wants to be able to go out to a bar? Not that anyone goes to bars, but she wants to go to the park and have somebody wave across 6 feet away from her? Or is it that she just doesn't see a future with this guy? Because I think that distinction makes the difference. For me, it wouldn't be about the guy as much, but more just about that, like, my independence is important to me while I'm young.
Yeah, I think those are good points. And those are good things for the letter writer to think about.
Because I think it was kind of what I was saying earlier of like towing the line of like, I would really like to have a good and decent guy in my life, but also like you can't force it if it's not there, like you shouldn't feel shame of like, it seems like he's ready to commit to you and that's great, but someone else will come along that's, maybe a better match if he's not, and I think just slowing it down will kind of help her determine that a little bit better.
I just think that you kind of know if you want to move things forward or not. And if you're not ready, then you have to follow that. You just have to follow your own guidance and know that there's a reason why you're feeling that way. And sometimes we're not even aware why.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to trust yourself.
Well, and one of the lines that jumps out to me too is she says like, will he break up with me if I tell him that she doesn't want him to move in? And I feel like if you're concerned that if you don't agree to something with this person, because obviously moving in is to take greater steps in your relationship. So if you're concerned that somebody is going to leave you because of that, that doesn't seem like the healthiest relationship to me either.
Yeah, I agree. I think you should be able to talk about anything.
Yeah.
and you should be able to, sort of hash it out. It might not feel good to talk about it, and he might not feel great hearing it, but he should be able to handle it, and he should want what's best for both of you anyway. So I don't think anyone wants to be in a relationship where the other person is half-hearted about it. So that might make him have a negative reaction and want to get out. But you're having your hesitations for a reason as well.
Yeah.
So
we need a good communicator.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes.
I think that's probably one of the most important things, is to be able to really communicate.
Well, Yomary, thank you so much for coming and talking with us. It's been so amazing to hear from you.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. You guys are great.
And we want you to be able to plug your stuff. So if you want to share like where people can find you.
So you can find me on YouTube, Yomary Cruz, and Twitter and Instagram at Yomary Cruz. So I would love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Yomary. Well, that was a nice chat.
We love her. She I feel like she had a whole glam team or something today, because she just showed us up. Well, beautiful person on the inside and out. Loved our chat.
And, I feel like one thing that she really wanted to advise but didn't get a chance to say it just because of the time constraint was that everyone needs to send us letters.
Yeah. Well, I had a suggestion today from a listener that says we should do an episode on texting. So if anyone feels that they're having issues with texting, please.
I am so glad that we have discussed this, because I am the #1 dating texter. And I can't believe that this is just coming out now, but I used to write all the text messages for my friends back in the day with dating.
Ooh, I love it. I mean, there's so much to dive into, right? Like the cadence, the translation of it, there's just so much. So if anyone has any aspect of texting they're struggling with, write us a letter. If you want to talk about something else, write us a letter too. Just write us letters.
What to say is that I can put it down for texting advice. So you write us your letters with texting. I got you. This is the one thing. Don't ask me a single thing about a dating app. Texting, I can do.
All right, guys. Until next time.
It's going down in the DMs.
Bye.
Bye.